which led to the killing of Daunte Wright. Yesterday, I was able to speak with Daunte Wright's father and express our condolences on behalf of the city. I want to bring you all up to speed on a number of events that transpired yesterday, including events that transpired today. That is our commitment, is to continue to be open and transparent and continue to provide information on this evolving crisis. Yesterday, the City Council of Brooklyn Center met in session and took a series of actions to address the current crisis. That included a vote in which the council voted to streamline the chain of command with the department, and voted to, in accordance with our city charter, have the command of the police department under the office of the mayor. That was the first action the council took. The council then took action to relieve the city manager of his duties. As you all know, the city manager had responsibility and command over the police department until yesterday. The City Council also passed a resolution yesterday in support of relieving the police chief and the officer who was involved in the shooting. As of this morning, we have the resignation. We have received a resignation, a letter from Officer Kim Porter. And in addition to that, we have also received a letter of resignation from the police chief. Right. Can you two come up? All right. So with the police chief's resignation, we're going to appoint two of our senior commanders to play critical leadership roles in leading the department through this crisis. Commander Tony Groening is going to be the acting chief, and Commander Garrett Flesland is going to assist the chief with regards to handling this current crisis. And so that is the update. Those are the updates we have for you at the moment. If you have any questions, we're happy to stand for questions.
Mayor, your questions first. Can you have the acting chief say his name and spell it? And were they sworn in moments ago while we were waiting for this news conference to start?
What? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, did you want me to?
Step to the microphone, please. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Mary. I was just trying
Yeah,
to.
please go ahead. Just say your name. Spell your name.
Tony Gruenig, Tonygruenig.
Hey, Commander, did you want to spell your name as well?
And you're now the preceptor, microphone, sorry, something there.
Sorry, acting police chief, yes.
And how long have you been with the department?
19 years.
What's on your
Right.
heart stepping into this new role at a time like this?
I don't have any prepared statements. I'm just trying to step forward and fill a leadership role right now. I understand.
Yeah, that's why I say, I don't like asking how you feel, so that's what it is.
Sure. Yeah. You know, it's very chaotic right now. You know, we just informed less than a half hour ago or an hour ago about the change in status. There's just a lot of chaos going on right now. We're just trying to wrap our heads around the situation and try and create some calm, right? And that can kind of transition into, we'd like some calm for the community, just some pause and community calming as we try and wrap our heads around the entire situation.
Mayor, I have a question for you.
Let me just say, the acting chief here has spent a lot of time working in the community, working with the community. He's someone who knows Brooklyn Center well, has probably, I would say, more than any other person in the department, has a very strong commitment to working directly with the community to help resolve issues. He's done that throughout his career. That is why he is the right person to step forward and take on this role at this time.
And Mayor, let me ask you, since Officer Potter was allowed to resign, is she allowed to keep her pension and can she join another police department?
You know, I do not have the answer to that. I do not know that.
And I can believe you, going police protocol might be able to answer.
Are you prepared to speak to that?
No, I can't. I don't know
Okay.
the situation in her benefits package. If she,
So that's information we can get back to you on.
Mayor, how does this change the situation for the department now that the officer has formally resigned? How does that change things going forward for your department, for the city?
Well, you know, what I understand is that the officer stepping down has the effect, I think, of speaking to one of the things that the community, that folks who have been out here protesting have been calling for, and that is that the officer should be relieved of her duties. And so, you know, I'm hoping that this will help bring some calm to the community. Although, you know, I think ultimately people want justice. They want, you know, full accountability under the law. And so that's what we're going to continue to work for. We have to, you know, make sure that justice is served, justice is done. Daunte Wright, you know, deserves that. His family deserves that. And, you know, I'm appreciative of the officer, you know, stepping down and saying that, you know, she felt that was the right thing to do, for the community. And, you know, I couldn't agree more.
Did the city ask her to resign?
We did not ask her to resign. That was a decision she made.
When did she make this decision, and did she get wind that you were planning to terminate her?
I do not know if she got wind of an impending termination or not. You know, she, you know, I believe informed the city this morning at approximately 9:56 this morning. At 9:56 a.m. this morning.
Mayor, what kind of message are you hoping these personnel changes send to the community, especially specifically the police chief?
Well, certainly. I mean, you know, we want to send the message to the community that we're taking the situation very seriously. Although things did not unfold the way we thought ultimately they should unfold, we're hoping that we're turning over a new leaf now. I'm confident in that. I think that, you know, we're going to develop an approach that is community-based, that is based on working with the very strong voices in our community, people who are influencers in our community, in partnering directly with the police department, partnering directly with the leadership to try and at the same time provide people the opportunity to speak up and deliver their grievances to government, but to do so in a way that their anger is channeled to protesting, and we want the community to know that this leadership for the department here, these are two individuals who are, and the acting chief in particular, they both are committed to engaging the community, engaging people who are out here protesting. And that's the message we want to send. We think that we can do both. We can keep the community safe, and we can do that by working with the community and working with leaders.
And who is ultimately in charge now? Is it you? Is it the city council? Is it the acting city manager? There seemed to be some confusion about that yesterday.
There's no, okay, let me clear that up. So I am in charge, ultimately. Obviously, the acting city manager has day-to-day responsibilities over the department, and so that is the chain of command.
I got a question.
So can I ask you about the
Do you guys plan on removing that blue thin line flag from in front of the police station? That is for all three of you. Any of you three can answer that question.
I'll answer that. I have gotten a number of inquiries about the flag. I've gotten inquiries from the ACLU of Minnesota, requests, to have that flag taken down because they see it and the community sees it as inflammatory. And so with people coming to the department expressing their anger and seeing the flag, we don't want the flag to be a flashpoint that angers people and does that in a way that that they're going to come to the department, and so we've asked the flag to be removed. Has the flag been removed?
I'm not sure, Mr. Mayor, but we will check.
Okay. My understanding is that do you know whether the blue flag has?
No.
Okay, you're not aware. Okay.
First I've heard of it, I'm sorry.
Okay, I do believe that the flag is no longer there, and what's there is the American flag.
So one of the controversies, in addition obviously to the killing of Daunte, was the way police responded to the peaceful protesters, tear gas and rubber bullets. Now that you're in charge, can you assure us that we're not going to see a repeat of that tonight?
This is a very, very difficult question to answer, quite honestly. Our city council passed a resolution yesterday. I forgot to say this earlier. And that resolution, I don't have the language in front of me right now, but that resolution spoke to what our officers are allowed to do and are not allowed to do. Could you find that resolution for me, please? Thank you. I will reference what the resolution says in terms of how our officers can behave. One thing I want you all to know is that prior to this situation, there was a regional central command set up related to the Derek Chauvin trial, and that operation has been mobilized to respond here in Brooklyn Center. There's a regional command center that has command and jurisdiction over the state patrol, the joint law enforcement agencies that are acting in Brooklyn Center, including the state patrol, the National Guard, and the Hennepin County Sheriff's Department. And so they are given orders to respond using tear gas and rubber bullets, and we have not given those orders here in Brooklyn Center. Thank you. One thing I will say is we are committed to not using those forms and those tactics. Let me just say what the language in the Brooklyn Center's City Council resolution says. And this is a resolution limiting police crowd control tactics during protests. It says, whereas the City of Brooklyn Center Brooklyn Center experienced a tragic incident which started a peaceful protest, and whereas locations can limit police tactics and brutality in response to protests to protect civilians and maintain their rights to protest, whereas given the violence police against protesters, it should be even less of a priority to issue curfew enforcements, and curfew enforcements can lead to an excuse for more arrest and violence. So we want to be careful how we're instituting curfews against people who are protesting peacefully. It's one thing when people are protesting peacefully. It is another. Let me just be clear. If people are not protesting peacefully and they're engaged in in any kind of use of force against law enforcement, I just want to say that there is a difference there that we recognize. So the City of Brooklyn Center prohibits the use of tear gas and other chemicals. The City of Brooklyn Center bans other violent crowd control and dispersion techniques, such as the use of rubber bullets as a tool against protesters. The tactics of kettling, also known as police lines, to arrest large numbers of people. In regulating crowd control techniques, the City of Brooklyn Center bans violent tactics such as chokeholds and implementing harsher punishments for the use of those maneuvers. The Brooklyn Center Police Department should not prevent people from videotaping them. The Brooklyn Center Police Department should not be able to cover up their badge numbers to avoid accountability for violence toward the protesters. Now, there are no instances that I know of where any of our officers have engaged in covering up badge numbers or trying to avoid accountability. I just want to be very clear about that. But this is the resolution that the City Council passed, and these two reflect our values.
Mr. Mayor, yesterday you said you wanted her badge, and you repeated this morning on our broadcast that you wanted Officer Potter fired. Why was she allowed to resign, and why didn't you fire her instead?
Well, I just want to be clear that in order for us to make that decision, we were going through our own processes to make sure that that internally we had all of the documentation in order to be able to do that. But the officer resigned, and so we have that resignation at this moment.
And because she resigned, what does this mean for her legal representation? Will she still be allowed to use the union if she is in fact charged?
I don't know the answer to that, but that is a question that we will get back to you on.
Chief, as a parent who lost his son over brutality, I'm just really concerned that the acting chief here, he can't wrap his head around that. What went on with Daunte Wright? I wrap my head around it every day. So we don't need him at the car. We need him to be the car. We need him to have empathy, sympathy, and compassion. And you need to look yourself in the mirror and speak to your own core of your heart. If it was your kid, how would you feel? What would you do? And you all keep traumatizing us over and over again. And you can't wrap your brain around it. But yet you go out to your kids and wife every day. And I'm left void without a child. When Sandra Bland got killed, I could wrap my head, my heart, and everything around it. And my son was living then. I need you to do more. to just wrap your mind around it. That's what I'm gonna need you to do. Because see, it's corrupt cops here in Brooklyn Park and in the state of Minnesota. And it's a deadly state for black, brown, and indigenous people. But you can't wrap your head around it. But you go home and you wrap your arms around your kids every day. Every day. I'm gonna need you to wrap your mind around it. I'm gonna need you to get in tune. I'm gonna need you to put your boots on the ground and act like you care about black, brown, and indigenous bodies.
That's right.
Act like it's they were your kids. No more racial profiling. No more just because she's black, because she's brown. No more. I'm sick and I'm tired. And it's people like you and you. You can look away all you want to. I'm talking to you too. It's people like you that causes our families, causes us to suffer. You don't know what it's like. You don't know what it feels like. I'm sick of you all. You know, you can take the trash out, but it has a way of recycling itself and coming right back. I'm tired of it. Get rid of the trash, Mayor.
Amen. Well,
Thank you. So, as of this moment, I don't believe any officer, right, is from the city.
I don't have the exact demographics.
That's right. The last time we have 49. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So we have 49 sworn officers at the moment. I could be off by maybe one or two. But yeah, as of this moment, I don't believe any one of our officers live in Brooklyn Center. That is something that we are aware of. Up until this time, obviously, we had different leadership over the police department. We do feel very strongly that we need officers to be from the community. Obviously, not every officer can live in the city where they work. I don't think that would be feasible or practical, but there is a huge importance to having a significant number of your officers living in the community where they serve, because I think it helps the department. It helps inform the culture of the department. It helps infuse knowledge of the community into policing, and I think that can only help to enhance the work of the officers, and it can only help make their jobs better or easier.
Mayor, is it too late for you to fire her anyway, as opposed to actually accepting her resignation? Because I believe that the community called for her to be fired. You yourself said that you wanted her to be fired, and we are concerned that this is an easy way out, where now she can go back to the post board and get hired by another department when really she is unfit to be a police officer in the state of Minnesota or anywhere around the nation.
Well, I do appreciate that. I have not accepted her resignation, and so so we're. I don't know. Like I said, we're doing our internal process to make sure that we're being accountable to the steps that we need to take. Okay. No, and that is not something I can share at this moment.
Can you talk about the demographics of the police department? Mom, black, white?
That document is public, or resignation.
Yes.
We run a nonprofit that works for the police in Hennepin County, North Metro area. One of the most important things, we have keep the peace. And it's so good, we ask for accountability and transparency. But one of the things when I listened to her resignation, she was not remorseful. She did not apologize to the community. She did not apologize at all. And And that's one of the most important things. If we want to fix the problem, we got to be able to accept our wrongdoing. And she did not apologize. So in so doing, she needs to apologize, and I think she needs to be fired.
She does need to be fired, and we would call on you, Mayor, to also ask that charges be pressed. We know that the Washington County Attorney is supposedly going to investigate the case, but he has ties to police unions as well. So that means calling on the governor to call on the Attorney General to bring charges against this officer, just as they did Muhammad Noor, who also claims to have accidentally shot a civilian.
Immediately, if you want peace on the streets, we need to see justice.
Absolutely. This case needs to be given to, appointed to the Attorney General. And so I am calling on the governor to exercise his authority and to move this case from Washington County to under the jurisdiction of the Attorney General. That needs to happen.
So Chief, you want this out of your hands?
I'm sorry?
Are you saying you want this out of your hands?
Oh, no, not necessarily. In cases like this, whenever there's a police-involved shooting or police, shoot someone, the case automatically goes to, in our case, it would go to the Hennepin County Hennepin County Attorney Mike Freeman's office, and I believe instead he's declined. Instead, it's going to Washington County. But we understand that the sensitivities revolving around this case and the level of I don't want to say this. This case requires that the Attorney General steps in and prosecutes this case.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
my question is for the new police chief. Congratulations on your preferment.
Thank you.
I'm speaking in capacity as one of the community leaders, and our focus is to work with the police and our community. Because what we've realized there is whenever there's a disengagement of making communication, there is a war in the community.
Sure.
And that war is always filled in with the perception of privacy and other. Now, in your new role, what are you going to do to work with our community to help narrow that gap and build a trust in the community? What ways?
Sure. So in the short term, we're going to continue some of the practices we've had. The Multicultural Advisory Committee, the JCPP, the Joint Community Police Partnership. I think some of the challenges we've had is with COVID, we're not being able to meet face-to-face with people and have that one-on-one dialogue and have some interaction. And I think that's where some of it is lacking with us. It's best to sit down with someone and talk to them, and it's easier to interact with them and relate and emulate when you have a meeting with them in person. And I think that's some of the disconnect with COVID and everyone working from home is a problem. But I am also committed. The city has a long history of being committed to community outreach, working with the community and trying to engage with them, whether it be community meetings with dialogue or community outreach, community like neighborhood in the park meetings. We want to reach out to the community. We do that on a regular basis. We'll continue to do that, offering, at times we offer food so we can engage with our citizens and kind of interact and get to know them better. So there's a continual basis, there's a history there, but we will continue to try and cultivate that relationship with the city.
And Chief, that sounds, a lot
Thank
of
you.
that sounds, well, I got a question. A lot of that sounds outwardly focused.
Okay, I'm not prepared to answer a bunch
That's
of
okay,
questions
that's okay,
today.
that's okay.
So I'm sorry, it's very short notice.
That's okay. I think you got this. I mean, you was tapped by the mayor. You was tapped by the mayor for a reason. It sounds to me like you were involved in community engagement. And so these type of questions that's going to be coming from community, because you're going to see us a lot.
Sure.
I believe that you should be the person enough to be able to answer these. And so a lot of that sounds outwardly focused in terms of, interfacing with community here, bringing food there, community outreach there, and that's fine.
but there are some internally focused things as well that's really critical for us as a community. One of the questions that I asked the chief yesterday, I'm not sure if you were there or not.
I was not,
was
sir.
whether or not he was aware that there is a pretty extensive backlog in terms of the tabs, the registration tabs, being sent out to civilians who paid for them. And so the backlog is 2 to 3 months. He told me he was aware of that. He told me that he was still okay with the officers enforcing and pulling over people for tabs, even in the midst of a COVID crisis. I said, you're okay having those types of contacts, and you're telling me you know that tabs are on back order 2 to 3 months. These are the types of internal policies, and there are a plethora more that you and I and others will be able to sit down and talk about, but it's these types of internal policies that are literal decisions that the chief is making in terms of enforcing it down to his officers, to his deputy chief, and to the officers under him in terms of what are the enforcement practices going to look like. We believe that our brother was racially profiled. We believe that he was racially profiled, and that part of the excuse that was used was the tabs. And so we have a major problem with that level of minor petty enforcement that can lead to such tragic, horrific consequences. My question to you is, what do you plan to do regarding looking at reviewing the internal policies, practices, and procedures of the department? What is your plan for inwardly looking as opposed to just outwardly looking? What's your plan with the staff that you're now about to go and have dialogue with as their new chief? As someone who has already been engaged with community outreach, what is your plan inwardly with the staff now?
I don't have a plan, right? I'll work on a plan. I can talk to the community members and see where they would like the direction it would like to go. But I was appointed a chief an hour ago. I don't have a comprehensive strategy to look internally, to look externally, right? I understand your concerns. I can't comment to the BCA's investigation. We want to be transparent. We want to do things that the community members would like to see us do. We want to be a part of that community. We want to work with our community members. And if that means creating an engagement group to discuss with, then we can do that. But I don't have a comprehensive plan to look internally and look externally at this moment. Go ahead.
You said that Brooklyn Center had a long history, right? So I want to make you aware that we do have a long history of racial profiling with young black men here, and I know you guys are aware of that. I'm going to tell you, because I'm a black man, that young man was pulled over. They didn't see his tab as they got behind his car. They made eye contact. He got pulled over because he was black behind the wheel of that car. Those tabs were just an entryway into that car. Normally it's, I smell weed in the car, or you didn't hit your blinker, or your brake light doesn't work. And when I watched that video on the screen, it reminded me of my friend Fernando Castillo, the white car. It reminded me of it was triggering. And so what the ACO, what Brother Eli is saying, is what can you do going forward to make sure that this racial profile, because right now Brooklyn Center looks like a sundown town. Black people better not be driving through here after sundown. And it's always, I've always been, hey, as a matter of fact, your tab expired? Because mine are. My tabs are expired. I can be racially profiled and killed, is what I'm saying. So as the chief, I think it is imperative that you talk to the officers. Some things don't need to be enforced. Something, like, come on, are you going to try to do when I'm wearing a mask? Come on, like, because what happened yesterday was like saying that the surgeon said, I made a mistake in putting morphine in the ID, in the IV. You know what I mean? Like, you can't make those type of mistakes. But if this kid wasn't racially profiled, I've seen police reports come out of here that said that we made eye contact, so I busted a U-turn. I've seen police reports come out of this department that we made eye contact and he looked shifty, and so I made a U-turn. I pulled him over because of his dreadlocks. You know what I mean? Like, and he fit the description. You fit the description. You fit the description. I fit the, you, man. You fit the description of pretty much 90% of the calls that come across these radios. And so what I'm saying is, I don't want to fail another young man. We failed George Floyd. We failed Deontay. We failed Philando. I don't want to fail nobody else this summer.
man, let's make Brooklyn Park first and not worse when it comes to like fixing this wrong. And I want to help Brooklyn. I keep saying Brooklyn Park, pardon me. And by the way, congratulations. I wish you would be more in tune and live in the community. But since you don't live here, take your uniform off and hoop with the kids out here. Jump in the swimming pool. Show them how to do something constructive. If you know electrical trades or plumbing, show these kids something other than I'm the law and order around here. And stop racially profiling. That's all I'm asking you.
All right, thank you. Let's,
Please tell us how many black officers
all right, one at a time, please. One at a time. We'll go with the Independent, and then we'll go with CNN. One at a time. Excuse me.
Can I ask the new chief a question, please?
Yes. Come on, Chief. Come on up.
Having examined the video from yesterday, the video of Daunte's shooting.
Let me. Okay.
I can't comment on any of that. I'm sorry. I can't comment on any of that.
The officers should have approached the young man with their weapons drawn. What threat did he actually pose to anybody, please, sir?
I really do appreciate the question, but here's the deal. It's your job to ask the questions, and I know that. But he cannot answer that question because the BCA has this investigation now. It's theirs to look at the video. They're the investigating agency. They're going to review the tape, review all the facts, interview everyone who was involved, and then they're going to make their recommendations to the prosecuting attorneys, and then the attorneys are going to make their charging decision as to whether or not they're going to make their decision as to the facts. But
What threat did that young man pose to anybody?
I can't answer the question. I can't answer hypotheticals. I'm sorry.
It's not hypothetical.
This is.
He was shot dead.
So, Mayor, we have a question, and I don't want this to go to my lady here.
Let the police chief stay, please. He should not stay because we have questions for him.
Okay,
This is
let's.
exhibition of
Let me hold on. Let me clarify something. So the acting chief and the commander do have to get back. They've got another meeting that they've got to attend to.
Mayor, I have
So
a question.
I will.
I'm a resident here.
Yes.
I'm a long-term resident here, and I've been doing work in this community for over 12 years. As an organizer, I live here, I own a home here, and obviously my husband, I've planning on living here for a very long time. One question that I have, first of all, the statement first, is that I don't need your police officers to get to know me, my name, my family before they humanize me and respect me. I need them to do their job, and their job is to protect and serve. And they don't need to know me for serving. So the whole food thing and everything else, that means nothing. Even if I have never met them, they still need to respect me. As a community, we have asked the city council for a long time that we needed a community review board. And I wanted to ask directly if that's something that you or the new chief is going to consider.
Absolutely. We're not just going to consider it. We're going to do it.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, quick question.
Mayor, I want to say something.
Yes, sir.
My name is Patrick. We are the chair of the Latino Human Rights Organization. I live in Brooklyn Center for over 15 years. The deportment of this acting police or director or whatever the title is just arrogancy. These are the kind of things that we have been dealing with Brooklyn Park, Brooklyn Center Police. This man has no remorse exhibited. This man, you can see the frowning on his face that he just wants to get out from here because he's among black people that are their sacrificial lambs. And we will not continue to be that. Come on. Stop this man from being a real police major in the city. You're going to have problems with us.
And man, you don't need to speak for this police chief all the time. He's
Yes.
a grown man. He can answer the questions. I think stepping back and letting him, I understand he was just sworn in, or he just took on this position about an hour ago, but he agreed to answer. He understood there were responsibilities that came with it. And if the fact that he showed up in this space with you, he should have been prepared to either answer our questions or say he couldn't answer our question and not leave that up to you. I think that's how you should let him answer his own questions. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, quick question to you, and reiterate the need to let go of Curt Boganey and what you hope to accomplish with that move.
Certainly. Obviously, this is a personnel matter, and I'm limited in terms of what I can say about that. But what I can say is that the city manager, as you all know, serves at the pleasure of the city council and is subject to the removal at the will of the city council. Mr. Boganey has provided many years of dedicated service to the city of Brooklyn Center, but the city council had significant concerns regarding how the city responded to the protests. The city council determined it was in the best interest of the city and its residents to seek new leadership in the city. And we do want to thank Mr. Boganey for his service to the city. He has made strides in many areas to help make the city better. The city now looks forward to continuing this work under the newly appointed leadership of the Assistant or Deputy City Manager, Dr. Reggie Edwards.
Mr. Mayor, can we count on you to immediately and unequivocally end traffic enforcement by armed police officers and to halt the practice of allowing officers to make custodial arrests and use of force for misdemeanor offenses, and instead issue citations and summons? And would you keep that policy in place until there's a complete and transparent investigation of Daunte Wright's death that results in recommendations focused on justice and accountability for his family and the community, and on systemic fixes that will reduce the risk of additional unnecessary violence, death, and tragedy for other family members of Brooklyn Center?
Fantastic question.
Certainly, I am predisposed to doing everything we can to reduce the opportunity for officers to use deadly force in situations where they're not necessary. I would like to receive the full text of your request and make sure that we sit down and go through it and see how we can implement. I don't believe that officers need to necessarily have weapons every time they're making a traffic stop or engaged in situations that don't necessarily call for weapons. We know that there are many other jurisdictions, even around the world, where that is not, necessarily the case. It's not needed, and so I am very much interested in receiving the full text of the policies that you're recommending to us, so that we can review that. Whatever we can do to make sure that our communities are kept safe, we want to do that. And then let me just ask, any other questions here? Okay. Yeah, let's go with Kevin from the Sun Post.
Do you anticipate retaining control of the police department long term, or is that kind of an emergency, short term sort of thing?
Well, this is an emergency, short term type of situation, and so when the emergency is over, I do plan on relinquishing control over the department. Let's go with Jelani from CARE.
First of all, Mayor, I just wanted to appreciate the decision-making that you have made. And I wanted to ask specifically how difficult it has been for you and the rest of the City Council in a time when you needed to act and hold police accountable. Can you talk to us a little bit about how difficult it was for you as a mayor to really be a mayor, number one, and second, the fact that the police departments and probably across the country have created policies to shield themselves from true accountability when it needed to happen, including, as you mentioned earlier, how difficult it is to engage this process to fire a killer cop. What are these policies that has the city adopted historically that would not allow the city council or the mayor to do that? Can you talk to us about it? We really appreciate your communication to the community leaders, We appreciate your response, and we truly appreciate the city council for immediately firing the city manager, and today, obviously, firing the police chief and the officer involved. And so we really appreciate it, and for calling on the governor to take this matter out of the hands of a county prosecutor that we all know will not bring any charges. And so we really appreciate it. Can you talk about the process and the policies that police departments have created to not allow accountability?
Well, certainly, you asked about, what it's been like within the last, couple of days. It's been very difficult for myself, for the community, to deal with the pain and the agony that comes from watching a young man be killed, before our eyes. And I do want to applaud and recognize the courage of the Brooklyn Center City Council to act in a time.
Excluding the one white man on that city council. And the white woman.
And I do.
I appreciate you. I didn't mean to cut you out. But I also want to point out that one of your city council members, Anderson, who have not engaged with the community in any way, shape, or form, actually had time to speak with the press and made it clear that the only reason why she voted to terminate our city manager was because she was in fear of her life, of the protesters, when actually nobody have ever contacted her, nobody have ever done anything to her. So that message is out there. So I want to know if you're actually going to actually hold her accountable for that comment, because that's not okay.
What I will say is that I last night went out, and in fact the night before as well. But last night I went out and got a chance to talk with folks who were out there protesting. And what I saw was young people, many of whom all of them looked like Daunte Wright.
Absolutely.
And I could feel their pain. I could feel their anger. I could feel their fear. And these young people were showing up to send a message. And they're simply asking, why is it that there's a significantly higher likelihood an encounter with police in their own communities often results in their demise, in their death, in a killing? Why? And from being with them, I just felt their pain. And I understood that they're not out to harm anyone. They're in fear of their lives. So I just want to be really clear about that. I want to be clear about that. I don't believe that protesters are showing up because they want to, harm someone.
So how do you feel knowing that your city council member feel that way about us?
Well, I have not spoken directly with this city council member, but what I can tell you is that I don't share that point of view. If I get a chance to talk with the council member, will share with her exactly what I just shared with you. That these young people are just afraid of being killed, and they're just sharing their grievances. They're not out here. They're not posing a threat.
Mayor, may I also state as a resident that seeing a statement like that from a city council member is the exact reason why there is this distrust between our community, especially Black and brown people, and City Hall. That we don't feel safe coming into the space. Her comment is not the first time. Councilmember Dan Ryan have also made some comments also in the past that actually make people feel very unsafe to engage with our city council. So I just wanted it to be out there since now we have the press here.
Yes, ma'am.
Certainly, we as elected officials have a very important role to play in how we communicate with the public, and we have to do that with care. We're also, in a position where we have the care of the entire community, people of all background. And so, when we speak and when we act, we have to make sure that we are helping those who are at effect, people who are helpless, people who are harmed. And we have to do that in a way knowing that by making sure we're taking care of everybody in the community, we're taking care of the whole community. We have to keep everybody in mind. Yes.
You mentioned you had about 49 officers. How many of those are people of color, and will there be plans to add more people of color to the staff?
Specifically Black.
Yes.
This is a very good question. I do have the answer, but I don't have it standing in front of you here today. That is information that I have requested previously, and I know I've received that information. I don't have the hard numbers, but I can tell you that we have very few people of color in our department, and specifically Black officers who are Black. We have very few.
Good man. Yeah, again, my name is Andrew R. Russell. I'm from the interim organization. We run a non-profit organization that will work with the community at large, including the police. I would like to suggest something to you and make a statement to you also. If you're going to have a press conference, we're talking right now about accountability and transparency. The police have to be present because this situation was caused by the police. So if the police is not present, how will the community know that the accountability and transparency will exist? And once you have a conference, they all will leave. You have to make sure they hear from the beginning to the end, then the community will see that some transparency and accountability will be given in the end. Number two is that the reason why, exactly the reason why you ask somebody asking why the police are Black people out there to further their life. Simply the answer is because the police don't know the people. The more you enter that, the more you build that relationship, the more you create that relationship and social interaction, you get to know the people. And when you know people, you treat them differently. So the police need to be more community sensitized.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. All right. Thank you, everybody. I do have to get on to a meeting. Appreciate you all being here.
Thank you.
Before you go, I just want to introduce myself. Tim Harlow with the Star Tribune.
Oh, that's you?
Yeah, and I sent you a couple emails when
See you
things
later.
die down. Maybe we can get together and talk and just kind of like to know who you are and
Yeah, and I can get you that information about the demographics in the department.
be well.
Okay, I'll get you that. No, Tim, give me your card.